This is the story of 3 generations of people who have lived in the village of Patchway for close on 80 years. This radio piece is about their stories and experiences from living in this location, and their story is my story. This is my family. First, we have my grandpa, Roger Scammell. He is 72 years old and has lived in Patchway his whole life.
There's no more community spirit in Patchway. We used to know each other. We knew when strangers were around. We were safer and freer then. Patchway was a good place to grow up in, which is now much too big, busy and noisy. We had youth clubs, after school clubs, etc. The youth club I used to go to was called The Hut. It was where the Church of England school infants were taught. I went there. We had this Cub Scouts, Girl Guides, film club. There was no peer pressure or keeping up with the Joneses when we were growing up. Everyone wore what they could afford. Few people had cars. Nowadays you are judged by the car you drive, what brand of clothing you wear, what type of house you live in. It's very materialistic nowadays. There's no more farms, cattle, sheep, pigs, haystacks. No more countryside. No more dawn choruses, bird calls, cuckoos, woodpeckers. What we have now is motorway noise, traffic, houses, 24/7 shops. We were born and bred in Patchway. Our sons were born and bred in Patchway. Some of our grandchildren were born and bred in Patchway. Our parents lived in Patchway. My grandparents moved to Patchway. 5 generations have lived in Patchway. Our family have lived close on 80 years in Patchway. There are still 3 generations living there. As already said, we were safer and freer. We could go over the fields and woods with friends and stay out all day. We were trusted. Very few people had phones and even less televisions. There were no mobiles, laptops, iPads and the like. We used to play in the street. We played hopscotch, marbles, rounders, skipping, skating if you had any. We used to make trolleys or dandies from old pram wheels and wood. Bikes were ASP, or spare parts, that you somehow put together. The biggest change was simplicity of life.
Then we have my uncle, Philip Scammell. He is 37 years old and has lived in Patchway his whole life.
Fashion around sort of my era growing up was kind of sweater shop jumpers and naff coats, things like that. Baggy jeans, kind of big trainers. It kind of does fall like a full circle. So a lot of the fashion when I was growing up is kind of coming back in again now, which is strange. Technology we had growing up was we tended to have a front door that opened and closed, and we spent most of our time outside, which is great fun. Which is kind of how we entertained ourselves, really, just playing outside and building dens and playing football and stuff like that. But when we did get technology, we always had a telly, which was nice. We only had 4 channels. You had to get up to turn it on and get up to change the channel. But then we were quite fortunate that my mum and dad, I don't know, maybe we were well off because we tended to get a controller quite quick. And the biggest change, I would say, from then to now is everybody's got a phone and everybody stays inside. Didn't have mobile phones at all growing up. I think I got my first mobile phone when I got my first job. I was about 19. But everyone's got one now. Growing up, didn't have them. We kind of came in when it got dark, or when your mum would sort of stick her head outside and saying, "Come in, your bath's ready." That it really.
Then we have myself, Jack Scammell. I am 17 years old and have lived in Patchway all of my life. The fashion when I was growing up, it like varies from people to people, but it's mainly like black jeans and like a leather jacket or a hoodie or something. The technology, everyone's got a phone. There's computers, PlayStations, cameras, anything really. People in Patchway are friendly and nice, good to hang out with and stuff. To entertain myself, I make videos. I go out with my friends, bike rides, computer games. The biggest change is probably, I don't really know. There hasn't really been much changes. Then we have my sister, Chloe Scammell. She is 15 years old and have lived in Patchway her whole life.
My favourite thing about living in Patchway is that there are quite a few things to do that are fairly close by. For example, the mall is just a walk away and town is fairly close too. There's a few woods around Patchway which I like to walk around in and enjoy. However, the worst thing about living in Patchway is that the respect people have for it. Some people litter and it doesn't make Patchway look the best it can look. I want more fields and farms like there used to be, because a lot of people like farms and fields, and it would mean that more people would be outside and enjoying the nature, and it would possibly bring the community closer together. I used to have fun on my roller skates going up and down the lanes for hours and hours. I also enjoyed going on slides and swings. I just liked the outdoors.
Thank you for listening to Generations of Patchway. My name has been Jack Scammell and I hope you've enjoyed.